All right, ladies and gentlemen, back here another episode of Racing Dirt. I think this is episode 6 now. This is our first ever non-sanctioned racer, so not with the IMCA, not with the USRA, not with anything like that. But Adam Dunwoodie, Adam, I do know you a little bit because I used to be a Ray County Sheriff's deputy, so I worked kind of with your mom up there in the courthouse, or not mom, but your aunt in the courthouse. So that's how I knew about you, and then I also partnered up with Dubby Energy, and I kept seeing you get thrown around out there. Your picture and your car were thrown around on the Dubby community, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. So just let's start off. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. Oh, hold on. There we
I, I,
go.
I guess I really don't do much other than race. I mean, I literally live, breathe, everything racing. I mean, I go home, I watch races, I'll study races, work in the shop. I mean, it's literally all racing with me.
Okay. Now, you race modifieds essentially.
Yes, sir.
So what made you choose racing modifieds over anything else out there?
So growing up, I kind of grew up around them. My dad was kind of a crew guy on a couple of the local guys' modifieds, like Marty Pope was one of them, and then Terry Van Trump was another one. So I kind of grew up around it, and I just always liked the modifieds. You know, I like the three wheels in the air, and I just always a big fan of them. I mean, you know, always wanted to run a late model too, but late model, that's a whole different ball game when you talk about money wise.
So now I know generally kind of where a lot of your family comes from.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't know that there was any real tracks close to us. I know I think Lafayette County's got one. I think, is that the main track you run up there, is over in that area?
Normally I run up at I-35 up there at Winston. I live over here near Lathrop, so it's pretty close to me. I'll hit Osborne every now and then. I think I did a couple CMS shows last year down there at Warrensburg. Actually ran up a class with the B-Mods just to try to get some seat time with those B-Mod guys before I decided to eventually go to that. I don't think we're going to go next year, but a year after that, I think we're planning on making the jump to B-Mod, because if I do it, I'd like to run for USRA Rookie of the Year kind of thing.
All right. So you've already got your eyes set kind of towards the USRA. Now, does that mean you'd have to adjust to a whole bunch of new different rules and it'd change up your kind of car setup how you got it now, or is your car kind of already ready to go back into that and run for Rookie of the Year for the B-Mods next year?
So with the rule package we use, I mean, it's a pretty close to a USRA style of rule package. For me, I feel like it is like the USRA B-Mods were 10 years ago. That's kind of where we're at. I feel like, you know, we're still spring on top of the rear end, don't have no sliders or nothing like that. We got to run kind of a cheaper shock, but all in all, it's pretty close to the USRA rule package, in my opinion.
Okay. So now, not sure how to gauge this, but I know you raced up there. You said you raced up at I-35, and you raced a couple Osborne races. Those are considered the tracks that I would call really my hometown tracks, my places I love to go and watch. So
Yes.
who would you say out there on those two tracks is your biggest rival or driving competitor for your guys' class that makes you want to be better?
For our class, I would say there's two guys, and those two guys would have to be Chris DeShawn, where Chris has been doing it for a long time too, and me and him have always had fun running with each other. You know, we banged on each other every now and then, but I mean, we're still pretty good friends over everything. And the other guy would be the guy that I trailed all year long, Casey Burnett. That guy's another one that's been doing it for a long time, and, you know, kind of the same thing. We beat and banged a little bit, but all in all, I'd say we're still decent friends.
All right, now out of the tracks you do get to run, you know, obviously without being stuck to one kind of sanctioning body for points. It gives you kind of a better option to pick and choose tracks you want to go to or try out. Would you say you have a favorite track, and if so, why is that track your favorite track to run at?
So I would say I-35 is for sure my favorite, just because it's such a technical track, in my opinion, because the track changes so quick. Like, especially in our class, you could go out there and look at your, 2 to 3 laps into our feature, that thing could start to go dry slick, and then boom, it's a completely different track by the time, lap number 12 or 15 or however many we run now comes around. But other than Winston, I would say, honestly, Butler. I really liked Butler whenever Jerry had it, because it was like almost like a little bull ring feel. It was real narrow. It was turn 3 and 4 had a really nice, like where you enter the track, had a nice cushion, kind of lean on. It had some character. I kind of enjoy tracks with a little bit of character, something that you really got to get up on the wheel and wheel them.
All right. Now, I know I touched on Dubby. How did you get involved with Dubby Energy? Because I got involved with Dubby because my YouTube channel for video games. But how did that, because it's not something that they were really particularly looking for at the time of whenever I got a hold of them, how did they come into play for becoming a supporter for you?
So we got Charles Vestal is his name. He kind of runs the ACA Speedworks deal that we've been a part of here for the last year. Charles and them got together and they worked out a deal, and now they're on board with us. I've actually tried some of their products, and I am really, really impressed with them things.
Oh, yeah, I can't speak enough about them. It was a huge boost to my channel whenever I got it involved. Got to meet some interesting people, that's for sure.
Yep.
Especially in the video gaming community.
Yep.
But aside from them, who would you say would be possibly your biggest supporters that you have going in throughout these race years?
I'd say my biggest supporter, I'd say my non-sponsor-wise biggest supporter is going to be Nick Haynes. That dude, I actually bought the car from Nick at the beginning of this year, and me and him worked out a deal where, he kind of helped me the year before a little bit because I didn't know a whole bunch about this stuff. I was just out there turning laps, having fun, and I wanted to get more competitive with it, be able to be consistent and, even have more fun, being able to travel places and learn what I need to do to change stuff here, there, stuff like that. So me and Nick kind of got together, and that guy is a phone call away. I park next to him quite a bit, and I actually park next to him and the Hibners and all them over there in that little row. And all them guys, if I have a question, I ask, and then boom, they got an answer. Sometimes it's not the answer I like to hear, but in the long run, it does help. Then we go to sponsor-wise, I would say TDR Auto Plaza there in Kearney. They've been behind me since I started, and they've done everything they can to help me. I went in there the other day, and I talked to Jamie, the general manager, and he helped me get some stuff rounded up and together for the Turkey Bowl in Springfield here in a couple weeks that I'm going to go down to, because I've always wanted to run there and just never really have, and now I feel like I've got a pretty good chance, so we're going to go down there and see what we can do.
All right, now you did say, you touched on it a little bit about next year, but next year, what is the big hope and big plan if you do happen to switch over to the USRA B mods and running for that Rookie of the Year? Do you think you've got the experience necessary to maybe topple one of those top 5 guys in the nation, and maybe speak again about this later down the road next year, about saying, hey, you know what, I came into it, I won the Rookie of the Year, and I also am a top 5 national driver?
Man, I don't know if I've got, what it takes, because, USRA boys, they don't they don't mess around. You got guys like Shad and Turner out there, and me and Shad have been friends for a while. They were really actually ever since I started this, and he's one of the best guys out there. And to be able to even run near him, I mean, and honestly, that would feel like a win to me. You got him. I know Terry Schultz doesn't really do much USRA stuff. He's kind of more of a Warrensburg guy, but he's another guy that's kind of the same way. And I know I've heard a lot of things about some guys going back to the B-Mod ranks and, a couple guys coming into it. It'll be a difficult class for sure. If I get to that point, I mean, I'd feel like I'd have won the Daytona 500, to be honest with you.
It's funny you did mention Mr. Turner. I've got him set up to try to get another time in with his schedule. So maybe we could touch a little bit more with him about how he feels, maybe showing you the ropes a little bit more for B-Mod and how to better suit the point system for running in the USRA. So that might be a good question to ask him, but
yes,
I do know there's a ton of amazing drivers out there. I mean, just looking down this list, even down in the top 15 drivers, you don't find but 2 drivers that haven't won no more than 5 feature wins for the USRA. Yeah. So, I mean, it gives credit to when you said they don't play around. I mean, yeah, I'm not saying they do play around because, I mean, their top 15 drivers, I think the lowest one has 8 feature wins.
Mm-hmm. If you think about it, I mean, the talent level in that B-Mod class is what I would consider almost like, USMTS style talent. I mean, them guys are, like you said, not saying they're not serious about it, but they're serious about it. They go out and they do the work. They get the wins. Them guys they're the real deal.
Now, you did say that you listened to Tyler's interview. Him being the Central Modifieds champion and Turner being right now the current B-Mod Central, I think you would run still in the Central, running at the same tracks they do. So I'm not saying that you couldn't beat them because I've seen a couple of these names, and I know Corey Myers is a fast guy.
Yes.
No affiliation with me, even though we share the same last name. I've seen Petty race. I've seen Logan Smith. I've seen Colson Kirk. I've seen Terry Schultz. They are all fast guys, and they are on this list right now of the top 20 drivers in the Central region. So, do you think maybe you could edge one to even get on that list of the top 20 in the B-Mods for the Central if you were to switch over?
Oh, man, I don't know. Like you said, that list is packed full. Like I said, I raced with a couple of them down there at Warrensburg for those 2 big 2,000 win shows they had. Like I said, just because I wanted to get the the experience and see what it was like with the B-Mod ranks and them guys, man, I don't know.
Now, spoke a little bit about your experience. How long have you exactly been racing?
This was my 3rd full season. It would have been 4 years ago. I was crew chief on a guy's car, and it was actually Chet Yates was his name. We went up to Bethany one night, and he goes, "Hey, they got a mechanics race. You're going to drive it." I'm like, "Oh man, I don't. If I tear it up, I don't want to do that. I'd rather just." And at this point, I'd had my own car. I just really wasn't in a rush to get it done. So tonight he let me race it in the mechanics race. I don't even know where I started, but I ended up like 2nd or 3rd behind. Casey Burnett was actually racing a car, racing an A-Mod. I can't remember who was behind him, but I'd finished behind them. Well, that night I decided, I was like, all right, well, it's time to get the car together. Well, 3 weeks later I had the car together, and we ran one race at Winston and then went to Osborne for the first IMCA Nationals they had up there. And that's about how I got started.
All right. Well, this is kind of a question that kind of catches some people off guard, not saying that they don't love their class as much as they do. Is there a particular class that if it wasn't an issue, like finance wise, if you could be fully funded, fully sponsored, had all the backing in the world is there a class you would absolutely love to run, or a class that you're hoping to run before you quit ever racing again?
That's a tough one. Like I said, I've always been a modified guy. Always, USMTS has been my goal for a while. But if USMTS wouldn't be an option, it would have to be super late models.
Now, why that? Why does everybody go to the late models?
They got a big tire, big power. I mean, it's just wide open, hammer down.
I'm not saying I don't love the late models. I'm just saying, man, everybody's like late model, hands down late model.
I mean, hell, if I had a chance to get even in a stock car, I mean, them stock cars are fun to watch. They're really, honestly, in my opinion, one of the best classes in the Midwest right now to watch. I mean, whether it's IMCA or USRA, no matter where you go, they put on a show. I mean, you got guys in the IMCA rankings like Mike Nichols and even JJ Balmy, the guy who lives down the road, and my Chad Clancy. You got those three just to name a couple guys, and then you move over to the USRA ranks, you got guys like Nick and Ed Griggs. There's a bunch of good talent in that class too. And I think that would also be a super fun class to race.
No, and I can't say that was for every driver. I did just realize that when I talked to Brad and Katie, Brad Stahl said he's the track daddy of the North for the tuners. We'll just put it that way. He said that he would love to run hobby stock. So, I mean, I can't say that was the answer for everybody.
Right.
But I mean, obviously, yes, the big, huge
there's
motors.
A lot of people, late models, yeah.
That seems to be anything. And that's the crazy thing is I said any class and nobody even said, I want to run a sprint car.
Yeah.
Nobody even thinks about sprint car. They're like, absolutely not. You can keep those wing things away from me.
Yeah, you can keep them. You can keep them tumble buggies. Them guys can have them. Nope.
I've seen a couple of those races down at 36, and I thought it was absolutely insane that 36 was like, we're going to put 15 of them on there. I watched 15 of them show up one time. The next time I heard they were coming back, I'm like, yeah, I'm showing up. And they were like, we got 30 of them, and we're going to stuff them on the track. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Do you know how big your track is?
Yeah.
Can you fit 30 of these guys on here?
Yeah.
Are we doing a lap elimination thing? Is there some sort of hidden thing that we don't know about? Is there another track that's like way off over in the back 40?
Right.
Like, hey, they're going to disappear for a minute, then they got to hit the drag strip and come right back down here on the other end and then hit the dirt track again.
Yeah.
Now, this is a little bit different. So I have on my list of my questions. I like to try to ask a unique question for every driver. I don't know a ton about you, but would you say that without the ACR Speedworks, because I've seen them posting stuff about you, would you say
ACA.
that... Yeah, ACA, my bad.
Yep,
thank you for correcting me. Would you say that without those guys, your sporting experience in this competition and everything, it wouldn't be as enjoyable, or maybe even killed off the passion a little bit?
Well, I don't think it would have killed off the passion if I didn't have them, because I'm pretty passionate about racing. But I would say the experience at the track and throughout the week and stuff like that wouldn't be as enjoyable, because them guys, you've seen the videos and stuff that they've posted. Charles has got some infield shots, some slow-mo stuff, a lot of stuff that you don't really see unless you're at like a big, racing dirt deal or flow racing or stuff like that. The guys actually have, video cameras in the infield. So, I mean, just seeing stuff like that and, giving the fans that option to be able to see something like that, I think that's, one of the coolest things ever. And whenever me and Charles kind of started talking about this, I told him, I was like, man, we got to do something like that, because I love seeing it, for one. And, I don't know if everybody else does, but I really enjoy seeing that stuff. I'm like, I think a lot of people will really start to enjoy that. And, they don't have to go out and spend $30-$40 a month in order to, watch like Racing Dirt or something like that. They'd be able to get it from Facebook or YouTube or something like that.
I mean, that's definitely a way you could drive up stuff. I would certainly love to see it, because I don't necessarily get to go out to the tracks as much as I would like to, unfortunately. And there's a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, this is something I've been wanting to do for about 2 years now, and it never materialized up until today, or it was kind of the middle of this week. I was like, you know what? I'm going to quit pushing it to the side. I'm tired of nobody doing the interviews, and when they do interview them, it's like, hey, I got 4 questions for you. How'd you feel on the track? What was going through your mind? And
it's basic questions that nobody else gets to really,
yeah,
they're just basic. Yeah.
It's just like you were told, hey, just go ask these 4 questions. No matter what their answer is, just say okay, and just move on to the next, and give absolute zero feedback to the drivers so that they feel as awkward as possible.
Yes, exactly. Well, that's like, so that kind of brings another thing up, like post-race interviews. Like, they don't do them as much as they used to anymore. I kind of miss that part of it, because I know, like, I-35 used to do it, where, as soon as you won your feature, you pulled across the scales, boom, right to the front, you did an interview, and then you left. But they don't really do that a whole lot anymore. I know 36 does, and, nothing against 35 and their announcer or anything, because I know that, we run 9 classes up there, so in order to get done at a decent time, it's kind of hard to do that. But like up at 36 with Rick Staley, he doesn't do the same question every time. He's something different, or he jokes around with you. He makes it enjoyable and fun.
Well, that's hopefully what I'm doing here to kind of do justice to everybody, because everybody is human beings. I know there's been a couple of people after the interviews, they've gone, hey, did I do okay? Because I wasn't prepared for this. Nobody ever interviews us.
Right.
You're the first interview I've ever done. Is this something that kind of caught you off guard by somebody reaching out and saying, hey, I'd like to do an interview with you?
Yeah, it actually is, because, like you were saying, a lot of drivers don't really get that unless, you're at an awards banquet, or, you get on one of them post-race interviews at the track or something. So it is really good to be able to do something like this. So, the people that listen to the podcast or something like that can actually, learn a little bit about the driver that they try to follow, or, even people that don't know anything about us.
Oh, exactly. And that's why the first question I ask, is, tell us a little bit about yourself. If I don't know anything about them, that way it's kind of getting them not just so much as a person and a number in a car and a racing suit with a helmet on.
Right.
Now when somebody goes down to the track, if they listen to this podcast, they're like, hey, I know that guy. His name's Adam.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I don't know that just because they said his name is that, because I hear it on a podcast, and now I know, a little bit more about him. I know more of his background, where he come from, and I know what he's trying to do different, and kind of gives you the feel for that. But not only with that, I know I interviewed Grayson Wooten, who was 16 years old, who told me he was nervous as all get out.
Oh, yeah.
He said, I'm 16 years old, junior in high school. I play on the football team. I didn't think anybody would ever interview me.
Yeah.
He goes, that's not something I could have ever thought about. And whether people realize it or not, after they do these interviews, whether you're sanctioned or not, this is a way I'm trying to help out with not only the dirt track community and the drivers, but you guys kind of become an ambassador, a better ambassador for your sport. This could open up more doors. I mean, you just elaborated something you guys do that's not particularly done at any other track. You guys put cameras up on your tracks and
Right.
get interior things. You know, that would be something amazing if more tracks heard about that and was like, hey, you know, I heard this. Let's do that. You know,
well, I mean,
and
that's
even
just kinda
then, YouTube now does something that's like a premium thing. So it's like $10 a month. So if you're like, hey, I really want to see what they're doing down there in Vivian, Louisiana,
right.
but I can't go down to Vivian, Louisiana because I'm all the way up here in Minnesota. But I want to know how my fellow competitors are doing so I know what the competition's edge is on it. You know, hey, right there on YouTube after so many days or so many weeks, I think it goes over to a free version of it, or it just plays ads and they
Right.
still make money off of that ad revenue. So it's not like they're still losing anything. They
Right.
wouldn't lose anything, and it may actually get people to drive into the track and be like, hey, I seen this stuff on YouTube. It looks crazy.
Yeah.
3 wheels in the air. What kind of madman is out there 3 wheels in the air, hammering down? I can hear him. He grabbed another gear while 3 wheels were
Exactly.
only touching. What is going on? Who are these madmen? I told one of my friends who's in Australia, and I said, I'm going to start interviewing some dirt track guys. And he goes, you mean rally car drivers? No, I mean dirt track guys.
Yeah.
No, you mean Dakar or rally? No, listen, they drive in an oval. He goes, NASCAR. No, it's dirt. He goes, redneck NASCAR. Kinda.
Exactly,
You're getting there.
yeah.
He goes, I'm going to look it up on YouTube. He looked and he goes, does everybody run the big wing things? I was like, no. Now I've got a whole list of things I got to explain to you.
Yep. It got you interested. Now you got to sit and listen.
Exactly. But now, if you had to take away racing out of your life or something, or rather, the better question is, what does racing mean the most to you? It's a loaded question that could go about 100 different ways. So what is racing mean the most to you?
The friendships and the family feeling. You know, there's drivers there, and I've done it too. You know, gotten arguments with people, and you know, thank God, never fought. But you know, gotten pretty heated arguments and stuff was said. But you know, you have that in every family. At the end of the day, we're all a family. That's the big takeaway from dirt track, in my opinion.
And I know that for a fact. I mean, I've been to a couple races where, you know, we've had untimely passings. Actually, somebody that I grew up watching that had moved away to go be closer to his grandkids passed away one night. And I thought, you know, everybody's going to kind of not know who he is. And I seen people pulling out old shirts of his, and somebody had a car, his last car, that they just never took the wrap off, and they rolled it out there to the track to, you know, for a final remembrance of him. And I was like, I used to go on the weekends down to my dad's house and see that car, and I'm not going to lie, it brought a tear to my eye, because that truly shows that even though you raced 5, 10, 15 years, you're never truly forgotten at those tracks.
Yes, exactly.
And even when our track owners and supporters pass away, you know, there's a huge family outpouring. You'd have people out in their 70s who are in nursing homes that are like, I don't care if I can barely walk or if you're going to have to push me in a wheelchair, I'm going to this.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And I know a lot of those places, they put on things, special events for Veterans Day and stuff like that, or not really for Veterans Day, but Memorial Day, to show their support and stuff. And that's something that I feel as though is kind of going away in the world we live in today, because nobody wants to acknowledge the cost and stuff that goes into giving people that freedom and the ability to do this stuff. And that speaks volumes to me when I still see little places like we're not here in a world of cancel culture. We don't care. You're not going to shut us out. You can try to block us. We'll go through our ditches to get into the track and still race.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, that's just like, whenever COVID hit, that was a big deal, all these tracks shutting down and stuff. And, it took us a little while to get going, but we were one of the first things to open back up because I just don't think anybody could stand it anymore. Like I said, it's one big family. We missed our friends, missed our family, and that was a way for us to all get together and have fun and, act like the world wasn't, just going insane at that moment.
Well, and I mean, I still don't understand how they were able to shut down dirt tracks for COVID because, I mean, what are you going to say? The driver of the number 5 coughed on me through his helmet while we're traveling at 30 miles an hour down the front stretch. He looked at me and intentionally coughed, and I feel assaulted.
Right,
and
yes.
If we would have had cameras up, to be able to do those, I don't think there would have been anybody in their right mind been able to go, we have to shut you down, and we legally can because, I mean, how are you going to justify that? How are you going to sit here and say the number 5 and the number 7 bumped?
Yeah. Now they've transferred COVID. Yeah,
they've transferred COVID through their sheet metal.
Yeah.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate the time. I appreciate giving me this chance to do an interview. I've got no more questions other than, is there any sponsors out there or anybody you would like to say thank you for your support this year and looking forward to next year, another good, successful year for you?
And, like I said earlier, I'd like to say thank you to Nick Haynes. That dude has helped me tremendously. I mean, last year from going from one win and, not really feeling like I earned it. I mean, I know I did, but not really feeling like I earned it. I feel like I kind of lucked into it because I was really more of a top 10 to 5 car most of the time, to this year being able to consistently run up front and be able to battle for a win, because I got 5 wins this year, 4 at 35 and 1 at 36. And like I said, being able to go down and actually put my E-Mod into a big B-Mod show twice with some of the best B-Mod guys out there. Nick's for sure the number one. Thank you for the way this season's gone. Sponsor-wise, like I said, TDR there in Kearney. We got Crooked River Enterprises out of Lathrop here. We got Midwest Coating Solutions out of Kearney as well. We've got H&D Auto out of Trenton, Missouri. I've got Fat Boys Bar and Grill also out of Kearney. I've got Rafter Ranch out of Lee Summit area. I've got Hathaway Home Group here out of Lathrop, Cody Hathaway with Remax. I've got a bunch. I've got Richline Motorsports out of Independence there. JDR Performance Carburetors, definitely one of the best carburetor I've personally ever used. Then we got the Dubby guys and all the stuff they've done for us too. Kind of keeping me away from them energy drinks because them things were pretty bad for me. Then we've got Charles with the ACA and all the ACA guys. You got my little brother. He's on there with us. Alex, Brett Holman. That kid has gone from literally like absolutely nothing to where he is now. And he's got the drive that I haven't seen in a long time since I first started. I watched him pull a head off a motor one night before hot laps and throw another head on it and get out there for hot laps. And I think he ran top 10 that night. Got Aaron Jones, got Cole Moore. And there's just a bunch of guys on that ACA team that, we bounce ideas back and forth off of each other and, just do it as a team and try to make each other better.
I'm going to have to hear more next time I talk to you about that story of pulling a head off because one does not simply just remove a head off of an engine and slap another one on and it just sound like it was a simple, easy task and that there wasn't any tools being thrown in the back of the trailer.
With him, I don't get it because it was just like he was changing the tire. I let him do it himself because I didn't want to get in his way. But I was sitting in
That's
my little brother's trailer.
That's
watching
the best thing to do when you see another mechanic
Yes.
working is just stay away.
Yeah, I was sitting in my little brother's trailer watching. I'm like, there is no way he is actually over there pulling a head right now. And he did. He pulled the head, put a new one on. I think he even reused the head gasket. And like I said, went out there and ran top 10 that night.
There used to be a saying when I was in the Guard, because I used to be a mechanic, was if you ever hear more than 3 cuss words, stay outside of throwing tool range.
Yep, exactly.
And pray that none of them play baseball or softball, because that increases the range dramatically.
Yes.
Now, I do again thank you for your time. Folks, this is going to be where I call this episode. This has again been Adam Dunwoodie. Hopefully going to be running B-Mods next year, so look forward to hearing from you again next year and seeing how you are doing. And